ሄድኩት እንዴት አየው እስኪ አሁን እኮ ያየው ነው ትልቅ ነገር ነው ምንድነው ያየነው ስፒከርስ ኮርነር ሄደን ብዙ ሰዎች የሉም እንደተጠበቀው አይደለም እንደተጠበቁት አይደለም እሺ ፀሐይም አይደለም አየትንሽ ቅዝቃዜ ያለ እሱ ይገባኛል ሄደን አሁን እናመጣለን ግድ የለህም ብዙ አናወራም እንግዲህ እስኪ ቆይ ምንድነው ኖቲስ ያደረከው እንደው ብዙ ጊዜ ስፒከር ኮርነርስ ከሃይማኖት ጋር ነው አይደል
ኖ necessarily ሃይማኖት ብቻ አይደለም የተለያዩ ሰዎች መተው ሐሳባቸውን በነጻነት የሚገልጹበት ነው
እስኪ ካንተ ከሽማግሌው ጀምር ከነጩ ሽማግሌ ምን
believes that politicians lie who believes that politicians lie Is he dead? You vote for people who think like that. See that? No, what I do is spoil my vote. The reason being, if you don't vote, then it's an empty box that they can vote in. The voting's, I was saying this 5-8 years ago, mainly because I learned maybe 10-15 years ago about the American machine. This world that talks about even then, totally easily within moments. The whole concept of voting is just for you in this country and everywhere else the impression that you have some power, that you have some sway. You don't have any. In this country, when you vote, what you're doing, you're giving consent to the system. Because, and then what you're doing is saying, when you're voting here, what you're doing, you're actually annotating, appointing a person to, not a political party, but a person to be your so-called representative. Absolutely ridiculous. How can they represent you? How can they represent me? Now, why should they represent me?
ምንድነው የሚያወራው የነበረው ምንድነው አይዲያው ይሄ ሰው ይብስሽጥ የነበረው
በጣም ፋሲኔቲንግ የሚያደርግ አይዲያ አለ ምንድነው የሚለው አንደኛ ትልቅ መንግስት አይወድም መንግስት ስሞል ገቨርንመንት ነው የሚለው
ባይ ዘ ወይ ኮንሰርቫቲቮች እነሱ ናቸው ሁለቱ ነጩና በዛ በኩል ነው ያሉት ኮንሰርቫቲቮች ናቸው ኮንሰርቫቲቮች they believe in small government
እንግዲህ ስሞል ገቨርንመንት በሚልበት ሰዓት አሁን ለምሳሌ እንግሊዝ እሱ ያለው ምንድነው 60 ሚሊዮን ህዝብ አለው አለ እና 60 ሚሊዮን ህዝብ ሆነ ሰው ትመርጣለህ እነኛ ሲጀመር የምትመርጣቸው ሰዎች እንግዲህ አሁን ስለ እንግሊዝ ፓርላመንት ነው የምናወራው ውሸታሞች ናቸው አለ ስለሚዋሹ ስልሳ ሚሊዮን ህዝብን ኮንሰንት ለነሱ እውቅና ሰጠ ራስ ትመርጣለህ ውሸታሞች መሆናቸውን አውቃለ እነሱ ናቸው እነሱ ደግሞ ለመመረጥ ዋሻሉ አለ እና ለሰው የሚያስፈልገውን ሰርቪስ ዴሊቨር ያደርጉም አለ እንዲያውም ክሪቲካሊ የተናገረው ነገር በዚህ በፖፑሌሽን ነው ለምሳሌ ዓለም ፖፑሌትድ ሆናለች ብሎ ያምናሉ አለ ግን ሊትራሊ ዓለም ባዶ ነች አለ እነሱ በዴንስ ፖፑሌሽን ሲያስረዳ ነበርና ነገር ግን ለጠየቁት ጥያቄ ቀጥተኛ መልስ አልሰጠንም ምክንያቱም ለምሳሌ አሁን በአንድ ወገን ፖፑሌሽን በስቷል የሚሉት ወገኖች አሉ ዌስተርኖቹ ነጮቹ በተለይ ቲንክ ታንክ የተወሰነ ግሩፕ ዓለም ፖፑሌሽን ስለበዛበት ነው የኮሮናን በሽታ አንዱ ተከተቡም የሚለው ፖለቲክስ የመጣው እንደዛ ነው እንደውም እዚህ ላይ ጋዜጣኛው ላይ እኮ አለ እዚህ ጋር የፋይዘርን እንትን ያደረገና አሁን ፋይዘር ኒው ዴር ቫክሲን would kill ይላልና ቫክሲናቸው እንደሚገል ያወቁ ነው ሰው ነው የሚያወቁት
እኔ ተወግቻለሁ ይሄንን ፕሮፓጋንዳ አንተው በያለው አንተ ሰውዬ
እኔ ተወግቻለሁ
ልታስጨርሰን ነው
ሶስቱንም ነው የጠጣሁት ምክንያቱም መንቀሳቀስ
ልጆችም
ቲያትር ሄዳለሁ ብዬ ኦንላይን ላይ ቲያትር ስገዛ ቫክሲን ፎርም ሆነህን ሰርቲፊኬት አውጥተ ምናም ብለው አካብደውብኝ ነበር እና ልጆቻችንን አሁን አስወጉ እያሉ ነውና ያው ብዬ ተወግቻለሁ ግን ምንድነው አርጊመንት የሰውየው አርጊመንት
እኔ በቀላሉ አልሞትም አልክ
እኔ በቀላሉ
እኔ ፋኖ ነኝ ጸጉሬን ባላሳድጋል
እሺ የኔ ጸጉር አለ ግን የሚታየው ለጻድቅ ብቻ ነው
አይ ጥሩ ነው
እና ምንድነው የሰውየው አርጊመንት አለ ጊቭ ቢግ ገቨርንመንት የሚለው ትክክል አይደለም ትክክል አይ doesn't like them በትልቅ መንግስት መኖር የለበትም ትንሽ ሎካል ገቨርንመንት ነው መሆን ያለበት እንዴ በረጅም ዲስከሽን ማድረግ ይችላል ግን አክሰንተን በትክክል ያወቃል መሰለኝ አፍሪካ አክሰንት እና
ስሪላንካ መሰልካቸው አንዱም እኮ መጣ
እንደዛ ብዙ ጊዜ እንደዛ ነው የሚለው ህንድ ወይ ስሪላንካ መስላቸው ብዙ ጊዜ
ታውቃለህ እነዛ ዘመዶቻችን እኮ ናቸው
የትኞቹ
ወደ ህንድ ሄዱት ናቸው ህንድ እኮ የገዛ ሰው አለ ታውቃለህ
አለን አንድ በጣም የሚምን እኮ የኢትዮጵያ ታሪክ እኮ ፋሲኔት ያደርጋል የቦታው
እና እንደ በቀደሙ ያሳየኸኝ ኦሮሞ አይሆን እንጂ
የትኛው ነው
እንደ መሰለው ኦሮሞ ኢራዱ ምናምን ያለው
ይኸውልህ አሁን ምን አለ አሁንስ እንደው ሲሪየስሊ እንጠናና ከተባለ አሁን የኢትዮጵያ ታሪክ ወደ አንዱ ይሄድ እንዳይሆን እንጂ ይሄ አብዛኛው ኦሮሞ የምትለው ክፍል አሲሚሌትድ የተደረገ ይሄ በጋባሮ በምናምን በድሮ ጊዜ አሲሚሌትድ የተደረገ የሌላ ህዝብ ነው አማራም ሊሆን ይችላል ሌሎችም ሊሆን ይችላል በጣም ፋሲኔቲንግ የሚያደርጉ ታሪኮች አሉ ወደፊት ምናወራቸው ለምሳሌ አሁን በሐረር አካባቢ አርጊው እየተደረገ ያለው ዲቤት እየተደረገ ያለ የዘር አመጣጥ አለ ጭራሽ እና
አይገርምም እዚህ አሁን 2022 ላይ የሚበላው የሚጠጣው ያለው ወደ ኋላ ሄዶ ሲጣላ
ለምሳሌ ወደ ኋላ ለምሳሌ ይልበል አሁን
አይዲያ አሁን እኮ እውቀታቸው እንኳን ፒክ ላይ ደርሶ እረፍት ኖሯቸው በእረፍት ምልህ መስራት አገርን ማሳደግ የሚባለው ደረጃ ላይ እዚህ ላይ ደርሰን ብንመራመርና ወደ ኋላ ያለውን ነገር ብናጠና ምናልባት ነው ልናሻሽላቸው ያሉ ነገሮችም እኛ እኮ በብዛት እኮ አልበላንም አልጠጣንም አልኖርንም እና እንደኛው ሆስፒታል ያልተወለዱ ልጆች በብዛት እኮ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ አብዮት ውስጥ የነበሩ ሰዎች በሙሉ በወላድ የተወለዱ እንጂ ሆስፒታል እንኳን የላቸው አሁን ራሱ በሆስፒታል አይደለም የሚወለዱት በጤና ጣቢያ ነው የሚወለዱት በብዛቱ አዋላጅ ነው አሳይን የሚደረግላቸው አሁን መለስ ያወጡትን ስታቲስቲክስ ስታይ ብዙዎቹን ቤሲክ የሆኑ ሰርቪሶች ያላገኙበት ቦታ ላይ ንጹህ ራሱ ትላንትና የተወለዱት ልጆች መጥተው የዘራረገን ወደ ላይ እንትን አርገው እሱ
ላይ እናታችሁ ቆርጥባሃል
በጣም ነው የሚያሳዝነኝ
አንተንም ስለ እንደው ግብዝነት እንዳይሆንብኝ እንጂ የአእምሮ መጫጨት ጉዳይ አለ ስለ አንድ ሀገር ዜጎቿን ካላስተማረች በፕሮፐር በሆነ መንገዱ ማለት ነው ታሪክን በትክክል ካላስተማርክ ለወደ እድገት የሚወስድህን ነገር ካላስተማርክ ሰው the second best option ወይንም ሁለተኛውን አማራጭ ነው የሚወስደው ለኑሮ ማለት ነው እንግዲህ አሁን የሰው ልጅ ኑሮ በምንልበት ሰዓት በራሴ ግምት ማለት ነው አንደኛ ቤዚክ የሆነ ነገር ታገኛለህ ደግሞ ሌላው ደግሞ በሶሳይቲ ውስጥ የራስህን ሚና መጫወት ትፈልጋለህ ማለት አሁን ለምሳሌ አሁን ያ ልጅ የተናገረውን ነገር ስትመለከተው ይሄ በቪዲዮ ያየነው በኦሮሞና ግደሉ ክርስቲያኖችን አማራን ብሎ የተናገረው ሰው በሱ በግሩፕ ውስጥ እውቅናን ያገኛል በዛችሁ በተወሰነ ሰርክል 10 የሚሆኑ 30 የሚሆኑ
ነው ፈርሜንትድ ስለሆነ ያ ለጥላቻው ፖለቲክሱ የሜንስትሪም ፖለቲክስ እኮ ነው ባይደም እኮ የጥላቻው ፖለቲክሱን እኮ ወደድክም ጠላህም እኮ ሌስ ሪቨርስ ኢት ገባ አሁን ኦሮሞ ይገደል የሚሉት ሰዎች አማሮች ተነስተው አማራ ይገደ ኦሮሞ ይገደ ኦሮሞና ምናምን ይጨፍጨፍ የሚባል ነገር ቢያወሩ what would be the response አንተ ኮንሺየስ ሆነ ምንድነው የምታደርገው እስኪ ንገረኝ ይሄ ነገር አሁን
በጣም አደገኛ ነው የሚሆነው
ምንድነው የምታደርገው አንተ ሄደ ዲናውንስ አታደርግም እንዴት ነገር ነው
ስለ እንደውም አንድ ነገር ላይ በጣም ኖቲስ ማድረገው ነው ጀነራሊ በግለሰብ ደረጃ ሰው በአማራ ሶሳይቲ ላይ ስትመለከት አማራው ሰው ጠንካራ እንኳን ቃላቶች ከተናገርክ በኢንተርቪው ላይ ጠንካራ ያለ ነገር ከተናገርክ ምን ነካ ነው የምትባለው ሌታሉን ግደለው ቁረጠው አይደለም አሁን እኔ ተነስቼ ልክ ሌላውን ህዝብ ግደለው ቁረጠው እንዲያርገው ብለው የኦሮሞ አክቲቪስቶች በሚሉት መንገድ ብናገር የራሴው ህብረተሰብ ሰው አያረገኝም እና ፕሮባብሊ የታነጸበት የዚህ ሃይማኖቱ ጉዳይኛ አንዳንድ ሰዎች እንደ ሊኒየንትሊ የምንወስደው ነገር በየጊዜው ከልጅነት ጀምሮ ስትሰበከ ያደክበት ጥላትን እንደራስ አድርገው ወደ ታዘዝ ለወላጆች ለአምላክ ታዘዝ የሚለው ነገር ሰውን የተወሰነ ዲሲፕሊን ሰጥቶታል በጣም ቀላል ትምህርት አይደለም እና የምታየው ልዩነት እዚህ ላይ ነው እነዛኞቹ ስትመለከታቸው ያው እንግዲህ ይሄ ተጓዳኝ ባህሎች አሉ አሁን ለምሳሌ በአማራው ዘንድ ይሄ ተጓዳኝ ባህል ብዙዎች የቀሩ ናቸው የጠፉ ናቸው እና በሌላ ህብረተሰብ ግን ተጓዳኝ የሆኑ ባህሎች አሉ እና እነዛ ተጓዳኝ የሆኑ ነገሮች ኢንፍሉዌንስ እያደረጓቸው እነዚህ ልጆች በእንደዛ አይነት ነገር እንግዲህ ሃይማኖት፣ ባህላዊ ሃይማኖት እንደገና ደግሞ የዘር ፖለቲካ እነዚህ አይነት ኮክቴሎች ሁሉ ሲደማመሩ የሚያመጡት ጣጣ ነው ማለት ነው እና የኛ ህብረተሰብ አይናገርም። እንደውም ብዙ እኮ ሰው የሚኮንንህ በቃ ለምን አትናገርም ነውና ግን ድምፅን ከፍ አድርገህ ስትናገር ድምፅን አንተ ቃላቶቹን አይደለም ድምፅን ከፍ አድርገህ ስትናገር እንዴ ምን ነካ ይባላል እና ጭራሽ ትኮንናለህ። አንተ እየተገደልክ ስላንተ ነው እኮ አንተ ነው ዲፌንድ አድርገው ብትለው አይሰማህም በእንደዛ አይነት ቋንቋ ነው። የባህል ልዩነት በጣም አለ በእንደዛ አይነት ጉዳይ ለና
ሌላው ሲታሰብከው ነገር አሁን ቅድም ለምሳሌ ሄክለርስ ነበሩ ሰውየውን አሁን ለምሳሌ 3 ነው ያየናቸው። አሁን አንደኛው ሃይማኖተኛ ነው ጥቁሩ፣ መሀለኛው ደግሞ እንዳልከው ፖለቲሽን ነው ያው ስሞል ገቨርንመንት ምናምን እያለ የሚናገር ነው። ሌላኛው ደግሞ የሚያወራው የነበረው ስለ ፌሚኒዝምን የሚኮንን ነው። ሊትራሊ ፌሚኒስት ፍሮድ የሆነ እንትን ነው ምናምን እያለ አይዲዮሎጂ ነው ምናምን እያለ ነው እንትን የሚለው እና ሄክለሮች ነበሩ። ሊትራሊ አንተ በሽተኛ ጭንቅላትን ያማል ሊልና ታከመው ምናምን ሲሉት ሰምተህ እንደሆነ
ወደዚህኛው ነው የመጣሁት።
እኔ በደንብ አዳምጬዋለሁ፣ ቀድቼዋለሁ፣ አካፍላቸዋለሁ ለተመልካቾቻችንም እና በደንብ አድርገው ነው የዘረጠጡት። ሂድና አንተ ታከም እስር ቤት ሄደህ ጠይቀሃለሁ ምናምን ነው ሲሉት ነበሩና ዲስ ፕሮፐር ሄክለር ናቸው እና ግን ሰውየው ኦፌንድ አልሆነም፣ እገልሃለሁ አላለም። ግን ይሄ ዋዝ ቶኪንግ ከዚህ አይነት ባህል ምንድን ነው? አሁን ለምሳሌ
ስፒከር ኮርነር እንግዲህ ትልቁ የምትለው ይሄን ነገር ቶለራንስ። ሌላ ሰው ሲናገር እንግዲህ ተመልከት። ለነገሩ እንግሊዞችም ዋዛ አይደለም፣ ፖሊስም አለ፣ የቆመ ፖሊስ አለ፣ ስታንድ ባይ የሆነ ፖሊስ አለ እና ሰላም ለማስጠበቅ ማለት ነው። እና የባህሉ ምንድነው የሚያስተምርህ? የፈለከውን አስተሳሰብ ያለ አመጽ መናገር ትችላለህ።
በሳምንት አንዴ ነው እዚህ ዩዥዋል የሚገኙት። እነዚህ ሰዎች ደግሞ ዌል ቨርስድ ናቸው፣ መናገር የሚችሉ ሪዝን ማድረግ የሚችሉ ናቸው።
የሚናገሩትን ነገር ያውቁታል። ዋናው ነገር
ከኔ ኢማጂን ዮሐንስ በኋላውን መስቀል አደባባይ ላይ ስፒከርስ ኮርነር ብታረግ ቢናገር ምናልባት ነው ሺዎች አይመጡ
ይመጣል። አሁን እንደዚህ ስለ የኤክስፒሪየንሱ ቀላል አይደለም።
መጀመሪያ ላይ መቼስ ብዙ ችግር የሚመጣ ይመስለኛል። ኤክስትሪሚስቶች ይነሳሉ።
አሁን በኢትዮጵያ ደረጃ ላይ ብትወስደው ከሩቅ ሆኖ ድንጋይ ሊወረወርብህ የሚፈልግ ሰው ሊኖር ይችላል። ኢቨን አሁንም እንኳን በተናገረው ነገር
ቀደም እስላሞቹን በደንብ ስለ ጾም ሲናገራቸው ጥቁሩ ገርም እኮ ነው። አፋፉን ለማለት ይሞክራሉ፣ ግን እሱ የምን ደግሞ እናንተ ብሎ ጿሚ ምናምን
ሌሎችንም ኢቨን ክርስቲያኖችንም ይናገራል። እና የምትማረው ነገር ምንድን ነው? ሀሳብህን በመግለጽህ ሌላውን ሰው አትጎዳም።
ፈርስት አሜንድመንት
ከፈለግ ታዳምጠዋለህ።
የአሜሪካኖቹን ህግ ነው ፈርስት አሜንድመንት።
ከፈለግ ታዳምጠዋለህ፣ ካልፈለግ አታዳምጠውም። እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር ነው ኤክሰርሳይዝ እየተደረገ ያለ። እኛ ሀገር ግን ሀሳብን መግለጽ እንደ ኩነኔ የሚቆጠርበት።
ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ መጥቶ እንኳን ቢያስተምር በድንጋይ ወቅረው የሚገሉት ይመስለኛል። አይመስልም?
ኢትዮጵያ ሳይሆን የሚገለው ሰው ይኖራል፣ የሚያከብረው ሰው ይኖራልም። የሚገለውም የሚፈልገው
ሞት አይደለም። ግን አባባሌ ይገርማል። እሱን ሲያሳድዱት ነበር።
እንዲህ አይነት ፈሪሳኖቹ አይጠፉም። አሁን እንትኖች በእርግጥ አንዳንድ
እዚህም እኮ ሪሊ እንትን ነው ገባ ሊሚቱን ስለሚያውቅ የህግ የበላይነት ስላለ ነው እንጂ ነው ሰውየውን የሰደበው አጥንት ውስጥ የሚገባ ስድብ ነው። መች ነው ከሴት ጋር ተኝተህ የምታውቀው? መች ነው የሰጠች? አንድ ቀን አንድ ሴት ሰጥሃለች አሉ ቅድም።
አቤት ስለ ፌሚኒዝም የሚናገር እንግዲህ አሁን የእውቀት ጉዳይ ነው። እኔ ሰውየው ለምን እንደሚናገርም
አላየሁም።
አይ አንብቤ ነው የሄድኩት እና ብዙ ሰውም አልነበረም እና መናገርም አልጀመረም። ግን ፖይንቱ ምንድን ነው? እዚህ ሀገር የፌሚኒዝም እንቅስቃሴ አሁን የሴቶች እኩልነት የሚለው ስለ አውሮፓ ላይ የነበረው የሴት ጭቆና የትም ዓለም ላይ አልነበረም። በጣም የሚዘገነን አይነት የጭቆና ነበር በዘመኑ እና
ሴቶች ብቻ አይደለም የተጨቆኑት፣ ሁሉም ተጨቆኗል። ወንድም ተጨቆኗል። አብሮ ከንብረት ጋር ሲሸጥ ነበር የሚለው።
እሱማ ወንድም ተጨቆኗል። ግን ሴቶች ደግሞ ለምሳሌ አሁን እዚህ የዊቻንት የሚሉት በነበረው ጊዜ
ሳይንቲስቶች ያነበቡ ሴቶች ይቃጠሉ ነበር። ልክ ነው።
በቃ ስዊዘርላንድ ሴት ፖፑሌሽን ጠፍቶ ሊጠፋ የሚችልበት ፖይንት ላይ ደርሳ ነበር የሚባል
የነጮቹን ጭንካሬ
በቃ ፖፑሌሽን እንትን አድርገው ማለት ነው። እና በጣም ብዙ በደል የሚደርስባቸው ነበሩ። እና እንግዲህ ሴቶቹ ከዛ ሲወጡ የሄዱበት በቅርብ ጊዜ እኮ ነው ሴቶች እንግዲህ ድምፅ መስጠት የጀመሩት።
ፓንክረስትን ሲሰርብ የነበረው ሰውየው ዋይት ፌዘር ይባል እንትን አለ ሙቭመንት ነበረ። ቴሮሪስቶች ነበሩ፣ ቦምብ ሲያቃጥሉ ነበር ምናምን ነበር
እና እንዲህ አይነት ችግሮች የነበሩባቸው ነው። ግን አሁን ሞደርን ፌሚኒዝም ፕሮባብሊ 20th ሴንቸሪ ፌሚኒዝም ጉዳዩን ለጥጦት ማለት ነው። በተለይ በአውሮፓ ውስጥ ሆስቲሊቲ በወንዱና በሴቱ መካከል በጣም ጠላትነት የመፍጠር አይነት ነገር ኤቭሪቲንግ ወንዱ የሚያደርገው ነገር አሁን ትክክል ነው እያልኩ አይደለም። ለምሳሌ አሁን ኤምፒውን አሁን ሰሞኑን ሲከሰስ የነበረው ኤምፒ የሆነው በሞባይል ፎኑ የፍቅር ስራ ያይ ነበር ተብሎ
እንግዲህ እኮ አሁን እኮ ቅድም እኮ አሳየው ቃል ገባህ እንጂ እኮ ስለ አማራ ፖለቲክስ ላይ ምንድነው ተብሎ ሸቀጡን እኮ ነው ያለችው። ሸቀጡን አሳየኝ ነው ምንድነው ደግሞ ምንሽሩን ስናይፐሩን አወጣው ጨረሰው
እና ምንድነው በእርግጥ ሰውየው ፕራይቬትሊ ማድረግ የሚችለው ነገር ነው። ግን እዛ ላይ እየተብሎ መስጅነስ ነው ይሄ ሰውዬ እንደዚህ ነው እየተባለ እየተከሰሰ ሴቶቹ ናቸው በቃ በጣም አይሎ የተነሱት ማለት ነው በዚህ ጉዳይ ላይ። እና አንዳንድ ጊዜ ስለ ጥሩ ነው እያልኩኝ አይደለም፣ እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር ቢሄቪየር ማሳየት አለበት እያልኩኝ አይደለም።
ታንክ ዩ ነጌታ ኦዲዮ እዚህ እንትን ብለዋል። እዛ ድረስ የሚሰማ አይመስለኝም ግን እዚህ ጋር እናቆማለን። ለሰጠኝ ጊዜ በጣም አመሰግናለሁ። ባትሪን ቀይርና እንመለስበት።
Too much population, you know, and other people like you disagree. They say there's no we have plenty of room for a lot of people.
It's self-regulating anyway.
So what's the objective of the other side? If they depopulated the whole world, what's the objective?
It's like a farmer killing all his livestock. You wouldn't do that, would you?
What's the benefit?
The benefit is that they don't. We're waking up. We're more powerful. As people, when you're lazy sod, all you do is gain benefit from parasitising other people by keeping them as your slaves, thinking that you're thinking that they're not slaves. That's the balance you need. You start getting more people that are living longer with better access to information. Goodness me, it's better now. They start to wake up. So what you do, you think, oh, I know what I do. But instead of doing what they did to me, retired me at 55, so I've got something different. He was very what's going on? They'll actually in the cause of equality, they'll equalise the age of retirement for those in the UK. For women it was 60, it went up to 67, didn't it? And for men it was 64 and it went up to 67. Yeah? So be careful what you ask for when you're asking for equality. Another conversation. Why? Because people are living longer and they're more dangerous. They want you to work.
In the beginning he wanted to come across and show himself as a Muslim leader, a man of the people, a man of justice, equality. But now
I'm an MRA, men's rights activist, anti-feminist. Men and women are people, feminism's an ideology. And it's crap.
They said to him,
and a lot of people make a lot of money out of it, particularly feminist women who are zealots. And He's good and bad in both.
denouncing.
How much opposition do you get for your views?
Well, when we first came here, we got an enormous amount of abuse. This was about 7-8 years ago. Now, more people tend to agree with us because the landscape's changed. We've had COVID, we had Donald Trump, we've had Brexit, and people are beginning to see that a lot of the opinions of mainstream media don't actually fit in with everyday life of people. And the globalists and the globalist agendas and all the rest of it, and the feminist agenda. And they've also seen how badly men are treated. And of course, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is one of the big ones. The Respondent is a book by a bloke who has worked with Johnny Depp, and his life was utterly destroyed. An incredibly professional man. His wife and mother-in-law put him in a mental hospital. He was one of the main parents of his 2 sons. He's never seen them again. He did nothing wrong. And of course, the thing is with Amber Heard, who's a feminist spokeswoman, world feminist spokeswoman, everyone believed her because she said it. And I've been listening to a black woman who's been talking about the whole case, and she herself was a victim of domestic violence, and she says everything about this stinks. She says what a violent person does, either to a man or woman, is that they isolate them. Amber Heard was never isolated. She's surrounded by staff, entourages of people, and everyone who knows Johnny Depp says he isn't like that.
I was about to listen to you if you're going to speak about something more impactful or everyday life. But the fact that you're talking about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, they are celebrities. I'm not really interested in them.
But it's important because everyone knows them. Everyday life is. Most people don't give a damn about the everyday man who's had allegations made about them in the divorce courts, and who loses his home, his livelihood, and then can't see his children, even if the judge says he can, and they don't enforce it. That's everyday life. This happens because it's big and everyone knows, and I know it is celebrity stuff, but and people are fond of these people because they watch them for years on movies. Yes, they are just actors.
That's a metaphor for our lives. All right.
Any questions? Anything like
What's
that?
Will Smith?
Will Smith.
Yeah, from your point of view.
My point of view,
Yes.
I think he's kind of ruined his career by slapping Chris Rock. When Chris Rock told the joke, he laughed, and then he looked at his wife and she didn't laugh, so he went and punished Chris Rock. His wife had an affair and made it very public with Will's son, with Will's son's friend. Sorry about that, Will's son's friend, and was quite proud of herself. But if you reversed it, if Will had an affair with his daughter's friend, we'd all know that he was a scumbag. You know, he shouldn't have done that to his wife. But of course, nobody cares that she did that, and there's a moral dilemma there. And Will Smith has lost a lot of credibility. There's an old term called cuckold. And when a man can be cuckolded by his wife, and this is what's happened. And he's been shamed, and he's lost a lot of, he's only an actor, yes, but a lot of people love him because they've watched him for years. He's entertained people. I didn't think he was a violent man. But slapping Chris Rock for a joke that actually wasn't that bad, it wasn't personal. I think she may have hair problem, but she did look like she shaves her head, so he made a joke about her being G.I. Jane. Which is not really, that was quite a strong character, so it wasn't really like he was calling her Porky Pig or anything. He was calling her the name from that. So, Will Smith laughed until he saw his wife looked angry. Well, he might have ruined his career for a while, but I suspect she's going to divorce him. But yeah, I don't think she's happy with him or satisfied, and so I suspect she'll divorce him. He'll be shattered, but he's trying to defend her honour when in fact his honour's in the dustbin. Yeah, but it goes both ways. But the thing is, if he had an affair with his daughter's friend, everyone would know how awful it was. But because it's reversed, we don't really see it. Yep. Oh, you're right. Yeah. I like you. Oh, that's. No, well, no, a narcissist. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, are you not offending those who believe in feminism?
Yes.
You are offending them.
I am offending them.
So you're doing it purposely?
Not purposely, there's a point behind it. I'm actually trying to wake them up. Because feminism, it's not what it says it is, it's what it does. And there's most of the arguments never been heard. And what the way men are treated in the courts is never heard. The amounts of men in prison, which is up to about 85, 86,000, when there's only about 3,500.
Are you a victim of feminism?
Yes, in my life.
How?
In a childhood, I was in care from a very violent woman, and nobody did anything to help me, or my family didn't, and they all knew what she was like. And she got away with it, and she hurt a lot of people. And she stole from a lot of people, and she destroyed her own children as well, who were daughters.
Was she indoctrinating you into feminism, to accept feminism?
No, she criminally devious, violent woman who picked on damaged or weak men and picked on children. She was malicious. It goes both ways. You can get men like that too. So we only see one side of it, and you need to see both.
But the idea of feminism is enlightening the oppressed.
No, but you only need to see
But the establishment is conservative versus...
There's no conservative left. It's all left wing. Even liberals are considered Nazis now. Liberals are attacked by the extreme left now. The thing with conservatives, you should conserve what's good and get rid of what's not.
Right.
And the big changes in this country happened in the 1800s, where they were getting the men to have the vote and then women to have the vote. And men got the vote because they were conscripted into the First World War.
So where is Emily Pankhurst stands on this one?
She was a suffragette. They were terrorists. They did so much damage. It was the suffragists who were the movement for people to get the vote, men and women. The suffragettes kicked down an open door. Women with the vote was coming in, and if anything, they held it up. And they were violent women, and they did the white feather campaign here, right here at Hyde Park, putting men and boys into the First World War by shaming them. And they didn't want the vote for working class women, only for rich women. So they were not actually about whatever equality means.
So do you consider them, especially Miss Pankhurst, as a feminine? Is she a feminist?
Well,
with
the funny
leftist...
thing is, I didn't think the word feminist was used in those days, but the earliest book we have, one of the earliest, is Before the Feminism, which was written in 1913 by a barrister. And he talked about the two different kinds of feminism. One kind that says women can do anything a man kind, and then the second kind that says that women need special treatment. And a lot of these top, very wealthy women, they were trying to excuse women who had murdered their families or their children, and said, well, murder is different when women do it, when in fact it's not.
Where is Thatcher stands on this then?
Who, Margaret Thatcher?
Yes.
She said feminism did nothing for me. She didn't need feminism. She was the top rooster in Parliament, and she didn't need any help to get there. She was a tough woman. And the thing is, I don't know whether I'm for her or against her. I quite like some of their conservative things, but I think she lost it in the end. But she didn't need it. She was someone who could do it on her own feet, whether you like her or not. And female politicians, there are other female politicians who are the same. The ones who come in on quotas aren't the same. They aren't the same quality. And I'm not saying that we have men of quality in Parliament, by the way, either. Most of them serve globalist interests like Soros and the Gates Foundation.
I see.
Feminism isn't what it says it is.
So you're on the right wing now, are you? You're a bit of conservative, are you?
I'm also very liberal. I believe that everyone, man or woman, should actually have as best a life that they can, and they should actually achieve what they can in their lives. I believe the position should go to the person who's best at the job.
So you don't believe in the dominance of the male, or
the dominance of the patriarchy.
Patriarchy, yes.
Well, actually, it's a load of old horse apples to say the patriarchy, because the patriarchy served women very well. Women had protections, men didn't.
So symbolically, our queen is debunking the idea of feminism. Is that what she's saying? The queen.
Well, the Queen's a woman. She's well respected. She's a powerful person.
So is she not symbolic for the feminism movement?
No, the feminists don't like the Queen. The feminists don't tend to like any woman who can do it without feminism. Yeah, a woman should need feminism, and a woman who doesn't need feminism is often not liked by feminists. When in fact they should be cheering the woman on. To say there's someone who can do it without help, but they don't, a lot of them. A lot of the people behind the men's rights movement are women, and they are amazing.
But the statue of Emily Pankhurst is next to the parliament, showing that she has actually, as you said, opened the gate for...
No, she didn't open the gate. She almost bloody blocked the gate. And not only that, she was involved in terrorism. The first bomb that we know of that went off in Northern Ireland was a suffragette bomb. They burned down properties. Working class people working as postmen and that were badly burnt by bombs and things that the suffragettes did. There's so much terrorism that the suffragettes were behind. And they were all upper class women.
But they won the case, yes?
Hey.
They won the case. They've got seats now in the parliament. They're accepted.
Yeah, no, that was coming anyway.
How?
But through the work of the suffragists. They're two different things, the suffragettes and the suffragists. The suffragists were the Royal McCoy. The suffragettes were terrorists. They were anti-male. They were not there for working class women. They did not care about reality for most women or men in society. They had no understanding of it because they were wealthy. Big difference, it was a class thing. Emmeline Pankhurst was a horrible person. And Chrisabel Pankhurst, I don't know what she was like. I don't know if she was as bad as her mother. But they were terrorists.
Well, she stood by her mum.
There's a book on what they did, and I've got to read it so I can spell out a bit better on what they've done. But Studio B talks about it. Janice talks about the White Feather campaign, which is why we're one. If you know anything about that?
No, but I know about the Pankhurst. They're considered as a hero. I'm talking about one of the daughters.
Yeah, this is where everything's upside down. They are not heroes.
No, not from your perspective, but
from the perspective of history, they've done a lot of damage.
Yeah,
they held up women.
They fought. One of the Pankhurst, the daughter, fought fascism for us. The Italian invasion of Ethiopia were fought by one of the Pankhurst.
I knew they were involved in other things to do with stuff like that, and of course Emmeline Pankhurst was also quite right-wing in some ways, but the fact is their attitudes towards the family, the relations between men and women, and it was all about power. All they could see was power, and yet most men don't have power. You look at the homeless, it's the majority of men by far. Suicide, it was 12 or 13 men a day in Britain. Probably more now. Men are not all powerful. Women have enormous social power. Most women can run rings around a man when it comes to debate, talking, and saying what she needs or wants. Most men aren't that good at that. There's differences. The reason we complement each other. And men and women used to work together. And if women are qualified and good enough and skilled enough and talented enough to do it, anything, then they bloody should.
So how about the institution of marriage then? Are you up for it? Or
I think marriage is brilliant. But I don't see they brought in another section of no-fault divorce. I thought it always was no-fault divorce. But the trouble is we have high conflict divorces. And in northern, I think it's Norway or Sweden, they have no high conflict divorces, which means when there's a divorce, the children go to both parents. We don't do that here. And the lawyers make an awful lot of money out of it. And both parents, the woman and the man, lose a lot of money to lawyers. What we need, if both parents are appropriate adults, they're not always, that both parents can get to see both their children. The cross-party feminists, the academic and the political feminists have been changing the law again and again to make it harder for a divorced father to see his children. And this is why the Amber Heard case is so important, because everyone believed that she was a victim of domestic violence, when it turns out that she was a fragile narcissist and a sociopath by the look of it.
But the court hasn't made the decision yet. It's ongoing, isn't
Well,
it?
the court case, he didn't win the court case in Britain, but that was because of who the judge was, as far as I know. In America, even if he loses the court case, he's won public opinion, and it's another lesson for men and women to learn that it's not just men who are the bad guys. She has enormous power. She's beautiful. She knows how to get what she wants. She can manipulate people. She's socially able. She's all these things. And there are some men like that, by the way, who can do things like that. But it's mainly women who can do that because it's social. Women have enormous social ability that most men don't. And in a couple where the couple are, supporting each other, I mean, the women, feminists have taken away all responsibilities that women have to their husbands and to their family, but they've enforced all the responsibilities and increased them that men have. They say a woman should never submit to a man. Well, men are expected to submit to women. So what are we doing? What should happen is that in a good relationship, the couples submit to each other. And when they have children, then they submit to their children's needs. That's what should happen. There should be respect. These arguments, even if things went well in society and you've got men and women, there will always be an argument over the dinner table over this stuff because men and women see things differently.
So don't you
need both.
Don't you think at the end of the day, this is through years of acts against women or them feeling inferior, don't you think this is just that reaction? But what you're saying is right. I think it needs to harmonise before we get...
That's what most people believe, but I don't think it's true, because when you look at the long history of extremely wealthy women who actually pushed, and one step at a time, to actually demonise men, family and masculinity, and tell women, and the victim narrative of all women, saying that all women are victims.
But they're exceptions, aren't they?
No, they're not exceptions, because they changed the whole way we look at men and women, and what power and strength, because most men don't have power. Women have enormous social power.
So you're saying that's not an exception, that lots of women were put in second-class type, way of thinking, yeah? And this is their, way of, being recognised as an equal?
Well, no, what is equality? Men and women aren't equal, we're different. We have, women are better at certain things, men are better at other things.
What's your point?
Some women are masculine, some men are masculine. My point is this whole critical theory, cultural Marxist, communist thing on equality where everything is equal. It's not. Things are different. It doesn't mean one thing's better than the other, but they're better at certain things most of the time, but some of the time. Women expect certain things from men, and they don't see that. They actually have high demands of men, and when men can't meet it, they're very critical and often very angry with the man who can't meet those needs. A lot of men are ashamed that they don't meet that. And we don't look at that. The enormous social and psychological power that women can have over men, and often do. Women mature earlier than boys.
Do you think that's recognised in society?
No, I don't. I think what the feminist narrative has taken over where there's a sex war, and there shouldn't be a sex war. We know there are horrible and dangerous men in this world, but there are horrible and dangerous women too, and most of us should be on guard from all of them.
So feminism is right in normal life, you think?
The establishment, yes. And I've realised, I worked part-time for 10 years, and then I've had to work full-time because of the COVID. I realise most people don't have time when they're working really long hours to actually look into a lot of this stuff. They're too busy trying to pay the bills. And a lot of people say, the normies, they don't look into anything. Well, there isn't time. And if they've got a family or they've got whatever, there just isn't time. But the thing is the COVID lockdown, where we shut down society, gave people time to start, because the mainstream media was repeating itself all day, every day, the same news item on NBC, BBC, bloody ABC, the same item basically, just different places. And people got bored with it, and they've done some research into stuff. People are waking up. And the quality of life has gone down in society for the working class. And we're getting oligarchs appearing and deciding the future of humanity, and no one's voted them in. And our government seems to be actually working for them more so than us.
So when did you wake up?
Oh, I've always been awake because of what I went through as a kid in care.
So you've got a vengeance against the concept of feminism. Is that what
no,
it is?
I want to wake people up to what feminism is. See, a lot of women will say, I believe in feminism because I believe in equal rights. Most people believe in equal rights, that women should have opportunities. How many people don't? How many people think, oh, women should go in the dustbin and men should have everything? Very few. The whole thing about the patriarchal theory is supposed to be how women are subverted to men's wants and needs and how they're just slaves. It's rubbish. You only need to look in the Doomsday Book to see that most of the store owners are the peasants. Women. Women have always had a huge part to play. Most working class women have always worked. In the past, when a man working in a factory could afford to provide for his wife and children on his own, it meant that the wife wasn't in the factory.
In the past, when a man got fed up with his wife, he'd have her put in a mental asylum, and that was law. Yes or no?
Some could.
Yes
and now
or no?
women. No, not for most people.
Really?
It's the son of the psychopath. Back again.
Was
son of the psychopath.
Was rape even legal in marriage until
this mother this man's mother is a feminist activist and domestic violence feminist from the Duluth model, which is fraudulent. If you want to look at domestic violence, you look at the biggest study ever done in 2013, not the bullshit
How
Duluth
could you
model.
possibly know anything about my mother? I've never mentioned
You have done last time. You told me.
What did I say?
You told me that she was involved in domestic violence, helping people in domestic
No,
violence.
I said if she was married to you, she would have been involved
Rubbish.
in domestic violence.
Rubbish. That's a lie. That's a lie. You're backing out now. You
No,
told me a little bit about
I'm
your
not.
life. There is a lot of stuff. People say you generalise to me, and I do generalise, but I'm taking on a huge mountain of many successful slogans over the years, which has made a lot of money for zealots. People assume I'm a misogynist and I'm a traditionalist and I'm a zealot. I'm not.
No,
I'm
they just
talking
assume
about-
you're slightly
I'm talking-
unstable.
I'm talking about
You mean well, but you're not very well.
you're the one who's not very well.
That's basically what I'm thinking of, and that's the remark. He's got
He's
a
a
problem with
nasty
the
man.
sentiment. Just go away, mate. You've got other things.
How can you dare speak to me dressed like that?
Oh, well, because I'm a cyclist, if you haven't noticed yet, sir.
Years ago when we first came here, he tried every bullying tactic on me. He used to stand behind me and shout in my ear.
I used to tell
try
you
and
I love
scare
you
me.
and you should listen to Barry White more often.
This guy's a bully, and he doesn't like it.
I'm
We've
not a
been here for
bully.
years.
I just
He's
want
a
you to
nasty
take me
man.
out to dinner.
There is so
You
much
half-witted
here to talk
mediocrity.
about, and a lot of people who read the top some are amused by it because they understand the differences between men and women, and there are differences.
How did you come to this
Even
great
if women are
knowledge?
masculine or men are feminine, there are differences between men and women, and it's supposed to be. We're meant to complement each other. Men and women should submit to
When
each
was the
other
last time
in
a woman
relationship.
complimented you?
I didn't quite get that, but I don't think I understood. So this is what happens when you're discussing something that's important. You often get idiots or people with an agenda coming in. And
Don't worry, we'll tolerate you.
But you get good hecklers, which actually challenge you and they make you prove your point, which is what a heckler should do. There's always been heckling here. It's a big part of it. But Johny Depp and Amber Heard, it's the big one. And even with Will Smith and the way he behaved with Chris Rock. And when you look at how Will Smith's wife, a famous woman, a black woman, a conservative, she's brilliant, and I've forgotten her name today.
It's written on your bloody board, you fool.
And she brought up what Will Smith's wife had done to him. She had an affair with his son's friend and was being videotaped with Will Smith saying she was very proud of herself. And my reaction to that is reverse it. Say if Will Smith had an affair with his daughter's friend, we would sympathise with the wife for being treated so poorly. But when it comes to the other way around, we just sit there watching it thinking, you know, we need to actually think it goes two ways. It's about respect. And she's got, and in the end, she's probably going to divorce him because he obviously...
You're believing that what happened on the stage was an act.
Oh no, it wasn't an act. No, that really happened. Will Smith was laughing at the joke. Because the joke was about she looked like G.I. Jane.
There was
with the
no
short hair.
arrest, nothing
He
for
was laughing, then he saw his wife's face, and then he got angry, and he went and defended his wife's honour by slapping Chris Rock in the face. And the thing was, it was at the Oscars, you couldn't have been more public than that. He's ruined his career. And Will Smith has millions of fans, and it's like, He's been cuckolded in the old term, completely
Well, that's what
cuckolded.
they say, that, you know, you won't do anything like this on stage in the public. You just stage it. He's an actor. So I don't
Are you
really
sure?
believe what happened. It was just basically...
I suppose I'd never thought of that. It could have been, but I don't. But
Another topic in the news instead of what really happened.
but
You know, we are
he's,
talking about the
yeah,
whole world.
well, you could be right. Yeah, you could be right because they do that. But I thought it was real because of the lashback he's had and the fact he doesn't look like a very strong man now, and he's always played strong roles. Most people are horrified that the whole situation has happened. Now back to feminism. There's a book you can get free online. Sorry, I got a tune. Feminism by Ernest Welford Bax. And it was written in 1913. He was a barrister. And he talked about the hypocrisy of feminism and how women actually were let off for murdering their families. And a lot of the top feminist women at the time, any woman who had murdered their family or murdered their children, they made excuses for them. And they said it's different when a woman...
Oh, don't encourage
yeah, you
for
can.
God's sake. Sir, in 1913, did women even have the vote?
What, did men have the vote? No.
I think they did.
No, they didn't.
I
Most working
think
class
they
men
did.
didn't. You had to be a landowner, and only 2 to 3%.
Yeah, but
of
look
the
what happens when you give the working
population had
classes
the
a
vote.
ladder.
Up to 45% of the men who died in the trenches didn't have the vote. And the vote came in where when you were conscripted into the army eventually, and things were changing from the 1800s onwards. There had been many, many years and hundreds of years of actually working class people and peasants fighting for their rights to have a say over their lives. Because remember, in the past, peasants, they couldn't marry who they wanted, they had to wear, they couldn't wear what they wanted. They were indentured servitude, and they often were sold for the property in this country by the landowners. And not all landowners were bad people, but we had no rights, and it's been fought for by brilliant people for a long time. And now we live here, but what's happened is we've got upper class women who call themselves feminists who claim that men throughout history have done nothing but harm women. Now I'll ask you, is it a nun, a nurse, or a lesbian lady who's going to protect women? And I'd say, well, yes, you can get that when they protect women in certain ways, women's rights, when they do, but which I consider different to feminists. But mostly people who protect women are men. The men who
Is that really the depth of your grasp on
in
this subject?
dysfunctional families, it's a different thing.
That most coppers are men?
And the woman who actually started the first battered women's shelter in Britain, Erin Busy in Chiswick in the 1970s, she talked about the generational problem of domestic violence, and she says it's not a gender problem. It comes from people who've grown up in where there's domestic violence. And in the first 100 battered women she had in the shelter, she did a study and she said 62 of them were as violent as the men. Now, women who married badly to a violent man or in a relationship, she was easy to help. You got her and the kids away from her. The ones that were just as volatile and violent either went back to the guy or went and found another bloke like it, dragging the kids along with them.
Why should we trust... Mr. Speaker, every year how many men are raped by women and how many women are raped by men? Because you've obviously done your research. How many men suffer domestic abuse compared to women?
Men do a hell of a lot. It's almost equal. It's different.
Almost a hell of a lot. Thanks for the specific answer.
There are different types of domestic violence.
Okay, let's stick to rape.
Often than not, it goes
Let's
both
keep the
ways.
numbers to rape.
Well, no, the thing is, they've been expanding the definition of rape. Rape is a horrible, violent crime.
Yes,
that scars
and
the
who are the
person
vast
for the
majority of
rest
victims?
Of their life. A lot of men are victims of it, and a lot of children are victims of it.
I've spoken to a lot of men who've been raped by women, yes.
There are, women can
You're
force
not
sex.
mentally stable and you're going to have to admit it
one
one
day. Sex on a man when he doesn't want it and it's not seen as serious.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of women who assault men and they get away with it because the man's in no position to complain. It goes both ways. And if we look at a
How
horrible
often are men murdered in a domestic situation compared to women?
Background? And if you have a man who absolutely hates women and is a predator going after strangers, maybe if you looked into the history, not excusing it, someone like that needs to be buried.
You are excusing it because you're burying it without any
And you
stats.
actually look at that person and you'll realise there's a reason for it. It could be a developmental disorder, but it's more likely to be somebody who is extremely
Mr.
abused
Speaker.
in childhood. And the brain formed without empathy for others, and it formed with hate.
Mr. Squeaker, are the vast majority of victims of rape women, yes or no?
By a man like that are strangers who have nothing to do with his life.
You are a
And they
tosser.
innocent. And there's another interesting thing. There have been men who have been known to be, or presumed to have been, psychotic killers, and women have deliberately gone after them. There's a lot of women who write to men who have been known for being murderers and serial killers.
Don't worry, I promise I'll write to you when you're in Wandsworth
So there's a really
prison.
weird thing going on here, which is a much smaller issue. It's not as serious as people.
Why are we even discussing this shit?
But it's, why do women attracted to men like
You
that?
need some more Barry White in your life. When was the last time a woman voluntarily made love with you?
Only you, and I'm afraid I wasn't in the mood.
I self-identify as an intelligent man,
Well, you
unlike yourself.
self-identify wrongly. Most
Possibly.
people wouldn't go along with that.
Possibly.
So I would say, people say to me, well, what's your answer? And
People
it's
don't
called
save
respect.
anything to you. You have no
Respect, and
friends.
it goes both ways. You look now, most men say,
What did your
"Oh, I love-"
careers
and the
advisor
man
say
said,
to you
"Oh, I
at
love
school?"
Children. Everyone's going to think he's a pervert or a pedophile. Now, what happens when a kid falls over now? A man doesn't go near the child in case he
Stop
thinks he's a
talking
pervert.
shit!
What happens? Women don't help the child now because they're afraid of somebody thinking she's up to wrong. Most people are decent people. We have predators, and unfortunately, predators go after.
How many of those predators are male?
People's homes, people in hospital, or children's or nurseries or whatever. Predators go.
Approximately what percentage
We're
of
now
paedophiles
seeing
are male?
Publicly, sociopaths and how they act like Amber Heard. And it is a horror movie on how
Mr. Speaker,
these people are, and actually
are the vast majority of paedophiles male?
I would say probably most, but there's an awful lot.
When you
of women
say
who go
probably,
through
give me an approximate statistic,
I can't give you
since you make them up anyway. Of course you can give me a statistic. You've been making them up all day.
Anymore because everyone's got their own statistics. But
The stats are 90 to 96% are male.
Rubbish.
No.
That is a
No.
lie. Now, going on about
Look at conviction.
there's a woman who wrote a book on this female abuse, sexual abuse of children.
This is what one. Need to be organized. Not to be left to anything.
So why would the Arabs go to the Greeks to get the name? Does that make any sense? Exactly. Precisely.